Dark screen, a low rumble, faint electric pulses. Narrator. Imagine a future where electricity flows through the air, silent, invisible, unstoppable. A future where homes light up, villages transform, roads, factories, schools, and entire cities run on power you cannot see, but you can feel. This isn't science fiction. This is Africa's next great leap. And at the center of this revolution stands one man, Maxwell Chikumbutso, the inventor challenging the very foundation of global energy. His vision? A wireless power network stretching across Africa. A grid without wires. A continent without blackouts. A future without limits. According to Maxwell, the same technology that keeps his self-charging car alive can be scaled into a continent-wide energy system that beams electricity through the atmosphere. Not towers. Not transformers. Not kilometers of copper cables vulnerable to theft or storms. Just pure, radiant energy distributed like radio waves. Engineers laughed. Politicians ignored it. Big energy companies hated it. But then something happened. Small communities began reporting demonstrations. Light bulbs glowing, motors spinning, batteries charging, all without any physical connection. Witnesses described a strange metallic box, no bigger than a suitcase, placed at the center of a village. The moment Maxwell powered it on, devices within hundreds of meters lit up instantly. Phones, laptops, LED lamps, even small water pumps. People were stunned. Children cheered. And technicians measuring the area detected electromagnetic signatures they could barely explain. What Maxwell showed was simple. Africa doesn't just need more power. It needs a new kind of power. A grid that cannot be sabotaged. A grid that cannot collapse. A grid that grows stronger with every node added. If successful, Maxwell's network would bypass billions of dollars in traditional infrastructure and turn Africa into the first continent to adopt a clean, wireless energy ecosystem. But with every breakthrough comes resistance. Whispers began circulating. International energy players reaching out quietly, some offering partnerships, others issuing warnings. Tech insiders claim certain groups are already attempting to analyze or replicate Maxwell's prototypes. And in the shadows, new rivals are emerging, motivated not by innovation, but by fear of disruption. Because a wireless power network would not just change Africa, it would change the world. Yet Maxwell continues to push forward. He travels to rural communities, universities, and engineering groups, explaining that Africa must not only consume technology, Africa must invent it. And now leaked documents suggest the next phase is already underway. A full-scale pilot project that could beam energy across several square kilometers. But what comes next is even more unbelievable. The proposal outlines a network of synchronized transmission hubs, small metallic towers no taller than a streetlight, each powered by Maxwell's proprietary energy cores. Once activated, these hubs create overlapping fields of wireless electricity, forming an energy web that blankets entire regions. Engineers studying early diagrams say the design is shockingly elegant. Instead of bulky power plants, each hub acts like a miniature sun, quiet, compact, and endlessly distributing power. The more hubs deployed, the stronger and more stable the network becomes, like a mesh of light spreading across the landscape. For remote African villages that have waited decades for traditional grid expansion, this could be life-changing. No more hauling diesel. No more waiting for government contractors. No more sitting in darkness when transformers fail or lines collapse in storms. A single hub can energize hundreds of homes. A cluster can power an entire district. A full network can transform a nation. Yet what's causing the greatest shock is not the technology, but the timeline. Insiders claim Maxwell's wireless grid prototype is nearly ready for real-world deployment. And the first country to receive it will become a global testing ground for the future of power distribution. That's when the political earthquake began. Governments across the continent are quietly preparing proposals, hoping to become the launch site. Some nations see it as an opportunity to leapfrog decades of slow infrastructure investment, others as a strategic advantage in becoming Africa's next tech capital. But with every country pushing forward, pressure is rising from forces outside the continent. International utilities warn of unregulated electromagnetic networks. Energy corporations stress safety concerns. Investors whisper about market instability. And intelligence reports suggest that foreign agencies are monitoring Maxwell's movements more closely than ever. It's not hard to see why. A wireless grid would reduce reliance on fossil fuels, cut dependence on expensive foreign-built power lines, and disrupt the $2 trillion global energy market. If Africa unlocks this technology first, the balance of power in the energy world shifts overnight. But despite the tension, Maxwell appears calm, focused, determined. He speaks with a quiet confidence, saying that Africa must claim its future, not wait for permission. That innovation doesn't belong to the wealthy, but to those brave enough to build it. And now, new footage has emerged showing Maxwell testing longer-range transmission. Lights turning on at staggering distances. Electric bikes charging wirelessly. Even agricultural irrigation systems operating without a single cable. But what investigators recently uncovered may be the biggest revelation yet. A leaked engineering report, supposedly from a private demonstration, describes a phenomenon that stunned even seasoned technicians. During a long-range test, Maxwell activated one of his advanced transmitters, and devices far beyond the intended radius began drawing power. Not just within a few hundred meters, not within a single village, but across multiple zones, separated by hills, trees, and distance. According to the report, the energy field behaved like a living organism, bending, adjusting, and intelligently filling gaps in coverage, almost as if the grid adapted itself to terrain. One engineer who witnessed the demonstration called it the closest thing to free movement of power I've ever seen. Another, in disbelief, asked a question no one dared to say publicly. If a single transmitter can reach this far, what happens when hundreds are activated at once? The implications are enormous. A fully synced African wireless grid could create a power blanket so vast it would rival the output of traditional grids that took decades and billions to build. But this breakthrough comes with unintended attention. A high-profile energy consultancy recently published a confidential risk assessment warning that Maxwell's system, if left unregulated, could destabilize existing energy markets, disrupt national power authorities, and introduce unpredictable economic shifts. Translation: some of the world's most powerful industries are getting nervous. Already, elite lobby groups have begun drafting counterproposals, claiming Africa must prioritize standard grid expansion, a convenient message considering they profit from it. Meanwhile, African tech leaders are pushing back, insisting that Africa finally has a chance to lead instead of follow. A chance to build a modern energy system from scratch, not one inherited, rented, or borrowed from foreign powers. In this escalating tension, Maxwell continues to work quietly with local engineers, showing them how the system can integrate into farms, clinics, schools, and manufacturing plants. A recent field test even powered a small construction site, drills, compressors, and welding equipment, all running wirelessly off a single transmission node. For many African innovators watching these developments, the message is clear. If the wireless grid succeeds, Africa will not need to catch up to the world. The world will need to catch up to Africa. But as the pilot phase approaches, something unexpected has surfaced. A clue suggesting Maxwell isn't working alone. Hidden within the leaked documents is a signature, a technical footprint belonging to an unknown engineering group collaborating behind the scenes. A team with resources far beyond what Maxwell publicly has access to. Who are they? Why are they helping? And what role will they play in shaping Africa's next energy transformation? The answer is more dramatic than anyone expected. Whispers began circulating in tech circles about a shadow group known only by an acronym, NEXA. No official records. No public spokespeople. Just fragments, scattered patents, anonymous research contributions, and encrypted communications pointing to breakthroughs in electromagnetic architecture. According to investigators, Several of the proprietary formulas embedded in Maxwell's wireless grid closely resemble unpublished Nexa research. Wave harmonics, energy field stabilization, atmospheric conductivity enhancements, technology too advanced for a single individual working alone in a modest workshop. And for the first time, a new theory is emerging. Maxwell may be the visionary, but Nexa might be the silent architects supporting him from the shadows. But this revelation raises even more questions. If Nexa is involved, why haven't they stepped into the spotlight? Why operate through Maxwell? And why Africa? One analyst suggests that Nexa's involvement signals a quiet rebellion within the global tech elite, a faction that believes Africa deserves a chance to lead the next energy era, not just adopted decades later. Another theory proposes a more strategic motive. Africa has the least entrenched legacy grid, making it the perfect testing ground for disruptive energy systems. Whatever the reason, one thing is undeniable. Maxwell's wireless network is evolving far faster than anyone predicted. Recently leaked footage, shaky, low quality, recorded at night, shows a cluster of 3 transmission hubs arranged in a triangle. When activated, a soft blue haze ripples across the ground like heat waves. Moments later, every streetlight within a massive radius flickers to life simultaneously. Drones hovering overhead detect an electromagnetic field so stable it resembles a digital fabric woven across the land. The people present that night described it as witnessing sunrise at midnight. Word of this event spread rapidly. By sunrise, social media across several African countries erupted with speculation. Was it a military test? A new telecom experiment? Or was this the first proof that Maxwell's dream of a continental wireless grid had taken its largest step yet? Meanwhile, global reactions continue to intensify. Some foreign governments quietly initiated investigations. A major energy conglomerate reportedly held an emergency roundtable to assess potential market disruption. And in certain political circles, Maxwell's name has become synonymous with unpredictable innovation. Yet despite the rising pressure, Maxwell appears more focused than ever. He has doubled security around his prototypes. He has accelerated training programs for local engineers. And he has begun speaking boldly about a future where Africa becomes the world's energy testbed, the place where humanity learns how to break free from cables, fuel, and dependency. But the most astonishing development surfaced just days ago. A document hinting at a continent-spanning masternode, a central transmitter capable of linking thousands of smaller hubs into one unified wireless grid. If true, this would allow electricity to flow across borders, across cultures, across entire ecosystems, with no physical wires connecting them. A single energy heartbeat for the continent. But there's a final, unexpected twist, one that could redefine everything we thought we knew about Maxwell's project. Hidden in the masternode documentation was a cryptic reference. Phase Omega, continental resonance test. No diagrams. No public explanation. Just that phrase. Energy analysts scrambled to decode it. Some believed resonance referred to synchronized wireless transmission across thousands of hubs, a test to see if the entire grid could vibrate at the same frequency, forming a unified energy field. Others suggested something far more ambitious and far more controversial. If Maxwell and his silent collaborators are attempting a resonance event, it means the grid would not just transmit power. It would communicate, adjusting itself dynamically in real time like a living neural network. Imagine a grid that senses energy demand, redistributes power instantly, heals itself after storms, and balances supply across multiple nations without human intervention. A smart grid without servers. A distributed network without cables. A superorganism of pure energy. But that's not the twist. Several researchers noticed something alarming. The equations referenced in Phase Omega are not designed for short-range distribution. They resemble formulas intended for titanic distances, potentially spanning hundreds, maybe even thousands of kilometers. Which raises a chilling question. If Maxwell's wireless grid can operate at continental scale, could it one day extend beyond Africa? The idea sounds impossible, maybe even dangerous. But the mathematics embedded in the leaked lines don't lie. They point toward a long-distance power transmission method the world has never seen. At the same time, strategic observers notice something else. 3 African countries recently conducted synchronized energy audits on the same day. Same time, same format, same reporting structure. That doesn't happen by accident. It suggests that preparations for Phase Omega may already be quietly underway. And while governments deny involvement, satellite images have revealed new construction sites in isolated regions, geometric layouts, triangular formations, and tall, slender antennas linked by underground conduits. The architecture matches Maxwell's earlier prototypes almost perfectly. But here's the most electrifying part. A whistleblower from a major telecom firm claims Maxwell's system may integrate with existing communication towers, turning them into dual-purpose structures capable of carrying both data and power through the air. If true, the implications are staggering. Africa's power grid and communication grid could merge. Phones, vehicles, homes, hospitals, factories, all drawing energy from the air, all connected through one invisible network. A continent wired without wires, powered without power lines, linked without limits. But as breathtaking as this is, there is a shadow forming beneath the hope. Because a new player has entered the scene, a global entity with more resources, more influence, and far more aggressive tactics. And their arrival threatens everything Maxwell has built so far. They call themselves Helios Corporation, a multinational energy titan with operations on every continent, known for swallowing smaller innovators and burying technologies that threaten their empire. For years, Helios watched Africa from a distance, content to sell generators, fuel, and grid equipment at premium prices. But Maxwell's wireless network, that changed everything. The moment leaked reports suggested a continental power web was possible, Helios shifted from passive observer to active disruptor. Their first move was subtle, a sudden wave of technical advisories warning African governments about emerging electromagnetic hazards. The language was vague, the tone urgent, and the timing too perfect to ignore. Then came the lobbyists, influential, polished, and heavily funded. They appeared in parliament sessions, energy summits, and private consultations, all repeating the same message. Africa must remain aligned with global energy standards. But everyone knew what that really meant. Keep the old system. Protect the old money. Slow down the new technology that can't be controlled. Yet Maxwell remained undeterred. And that's when Helios escalated. Field engineers across several regions reported mysterious drones hovering near test sites. Document lockers were broken into. Transmission hubs suffered unexplained interference. And in one region, a prototype tower was vandalized by unknown professionals, not random thieves, but individuals who knew exactly what components to target. Rumors began swirling that Helios had assembled a special task division, a covert arm focused solely on stopping disruptive energy breakthroughs. But what Helios did not anticipate was the continent's response. Far from folding under pressure, African tech communities began forming alliances. Independent engineers volunteered security help. Universities offered research support. Diaspora scientists started returning home, motivated by the idea that Africa could finally lead the next global energy transformation. For the first time, Maxwell wasn't standing alone. And as momentum grew, something extraordinary happened. A confidential briefing leaked online, a Helios internal document outlining their greatest fear. If Africa completes a functioning wireless grid, traditional energy markets will face irreversible decentralization. Control will shift away from global providers and toward local technological sovereignty. In other words, if Maxwell succeeds, Africa becomes energy independent in a way the world has never seen. But Helios had one final card to play. According to insider reports, the corporation is preparing a rival technology, a high-power microwave energy beam system. Expensive, complicated, dangerous if misused, but designed to look like a safer, more standardized alternative to Maxwell's network. It is a direct challenge, a message, a warning. But as this corporate battle intensifies, Maxwell and his mysterious allies push forward with Phase Omega. Because something massive is about to take place, a test that could decide the future of the entire project. A test so bold, so unheard of, that even Helios may not be able to stop it. And now, for the first time, details of this test are beginning to leak. Details of the test, whispered through encrypted chats and anonymous leaks, hinted at something unprecedented. Maxwell was preparing the first large-scale continental resonance event, Phase Omega, in full operation. No simulations. No small prototypes. No safe half-measures. This would be the moment where thousands of wireless nodes, from villages to cities, would link together in one synchronized energy pulse, a test to prove that Africa could power itself through the air. The world held its breath. Governments quietly positioned observers. Tech leaders prepared to record data. Helios Corporation activated counter-lobbying campaigns, pressuring nations to delay participation. But pressure meant nothing now. The countdown had already begun. Maxwell stood before the master node, a towering, sleek pillar of polished alloy humming softly as energy built within. Engineers from across Africa surrounded him, watching, breathless. Drones hovered overhead. News outlets prepared breaking bulletins. And for the first time, Maxwell spoke publicly about the mission. This is not just a demonstration of technology. This is a demonstration of independence. A continent with power becomes a continent with possibility. The final switch was engaged. A deep vibration rolled across the ground. The master node illuminated with a blinding blue-white pulse. Seconds later, nodes across the continent responded. One by one, city by city, village by village, like stars flickering into existence. Energy fields expanded, merged, aligned, and then a wave of pure power swept across Africa, invisible yet undeniable. Streetlights erupted to life in regions long forgotten by the grid. Hospitals powered up without generators. Water pumps roared to life in rural communities. Schools illuminated. Entire districts glowed under the same synchronized pulse. Across borders, across time zones, across cultures, Africa's first wireless grid united millions under the same heartbeat of energy. The world stared in disbelief. Major networks cut into their programming, broadcasting the phenomenon live. International analysts scrambled to understand how a decentralized network was maintaining perfect stability. Helios executives watched in silent shock, their empire trembling. And Maxwell? He simply watched the lights ripple across the horizon, then whispered, "It has begun." The moment Phase Omega succeeded, everything changed. Africa was no longer waiting for the world. Africa was leading it. Investments shifted overnight. Governments requested partnerships. Universities launched new wireless energy research centers. Engineers, scientists, entrepreneurs, all united around a vision born in a humble workshop. The old energy order felt the tremor. A new global chapter had opened. Not in Silicon Valley, not in Europe, not in East Asia, but in Africa. As the wireless grid stabilized, as communities celebrated, as the world recalibrated, Maxwell stepped forward into the light of a future he dared to imagine. A future where energy is abundant, where innovation is borderless, where a continent shines not because it followed the world, but because it changed it. This is the dawn of Africa's new era. The era of limitless power, limitless potential, and limitless possibility. And it all began with one man, one idea, one spark. Maxwell's wireless revolution has just reshaped the world.